Well, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are so glad that you're here. We're so glad that you tuned in. We're looking forward to sharing some great information on inspirational stories, true life stories about people, one of
Right.
which we know, and a couple of the other two. I'm sure most of you out there probably have heard of the individuals, but we're just so looking so forward to that.
Going to be an
And
incredible show.
yes, yes, it is. Donna, how are you doing today?
I am absolutely wonderful. I'm super excited to be here. We have so much to talk about,
Hmm.
being positive in a negative world and what that entails.
Mm. And that's an ongoing thing. That is basically simply a lifestyle that we all need in our lives, number one.
Right.
It's what we're entitled to do, to be honest with you. We're entitled to live a positive life no matter all of the chaos, all of the negativity that we see
Right.
getting spewed out on us. And ladies and gentlemen, I mentioned there on Facebook, I call Facebook, that Donna and I had a free gift for everyone today. And I'm just going to put it right on up there because we are proudly sponsored by the good guys at the 6 Minute Webinar. And if you go to that website there, 6minutewebinar.com/free trial, you can actually fill out your very own 6 minute webinar and have it delivered directly to your directly to your email, and you will not be charged one thin dime,
Nope.
nor will you be chased after to buy this or buy that or buy the other.
No, it's
And
simply that, a gift from us to you.
yes, it is. The 6 minute webinar was created by Bill Heinrich and Dr. Don McGrath. And I got to tell you something about Dandy Don McGrath. I tell people many times, I've said it here on the TV show, but I've said it many, many, many times to people when they're going to be introduced to Don. If I have the wonderful privilege of introducing Don, I simply tell them Don McGrath is the friend that you have not met yet.
Absolutely true.
That is the most accurate and honest way that I can describe Don to them.
Right. And once you're introduced to Don, he doesn't forget your name.
Hmm.
He talks to you like he's known you forever.
Hmm.
And the thing about Don, and you as well, Jim, I have to include you on this, truly, completely interested in who you are and your life.
Mm. That's true. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because I was brought up, I grew up on a small farm in North Carolina. And I'm so thankful that my mother and my dad, especially my dad, taught me early on that no matter who a person is, regardless of their skin color, anything like that, if they're your friend, they're your
They're-
friend.
Right.
And you love and respect people well, Dr. Luther King, he said it best. Martin Luther King, he says, don't judge a person by the color of the skin, by the content of their character.
That's right.
And Donna, I think I may have shared this with you. Dad had a lot of different friends, and it was common, it happened very often from time to time for us to sit down at the Sunday dinner lunch. What we called lunch back then, it was breakfast, dinner, and supper. But the noon meal, let me put it like that, on Sunday, and sit down and eat, with, a friend of my dad who was a black gentleman, and we didn't think anything of it.
Right.
And that's the way it should be in life. We
Yeah.
should have, we should, have friends based on who they are, the person deep down inside,
That's right.
because everybody was created exactly the way the Creator wanted them to be.
Right. There's no person who's been created, who's been born, or those who have gone before us who wasn't here for a reason.
That is right. And we're going to get into that today because a lot of people, they think their calling in life is to get rich.
Right.
And I tell people in a joking way, growing up on a farm, I had a lot of friends, that they lived on farms too. And I said, we didn't know we were poor till we went to town. But what we were rich in were the things that money could never buy,
Yep.
nor could any thief steal.
Mm-hmm.
We were rich in love.
Yep.
We had family and friends.
Rich in honor,
Yes.
integrity.
Yes. Your
Yes.
word.
That's right.
Ooh, my dad. Oh, if I only lied a couple of times, took me 2 times to learn the lesson. But he explained it to me very completely.
He was thorough in it.
Yes, there was no doubt in his mind that I understood that he had zero tolerance for lying.
He conveyed a message to you quite well.
And I remember this. This was about 1959 or 1960, something like that. I was about 11 or 12, old enough to think I was smart or sly.
Right.
And I asked my dad for some money because I wanted to buy a candy bar. We were going down to fill up the gas cans for the tractors on the farm, that sort of thing. And he says, you don't need any candy. So I went to Mother and I asked her. She said, well, you asked your father. And I said, well, okay, because that was Mother's way of, hey, you asked your dad. So I already had that answer. So for some strange reason, I went into Mr. Allen's store and I saw a Fifth Avenue candy bar that I just could not live without. So I took it. And I get back in the car and I think I'm Mr. Cool. And Dad went in, paid for the gas, came out, didn't say a word all the way home. And I'm sitting there and I think, oh boy, when we get home, I'll help Dad unload the gas cans, this and that. And then I'm going to sneak around back behind the barn and I'm going to enjoy my candy bar. And about halfway through that candy bar, here comes Dad around that barn. Mm-hmm. He says, where'd you get that candy bar from? I said, oh, I bought it at Mr. Allen's store. You bought it, huh? Who gave you the money? He said, don't say your mother gave you the money because I know better. He says, I know you asked me for money and I told you no. So my question to you is real simple. Where did you get the money? And, as a parent, sometimes you like asking the questions that your kid does not have a good answer to. That's why they look at.
They have the answer either way.
Yeah. And that's why they stand there and look at their shoes.
Right.
And then he told me, he said, Mr. Allen told me that he thought he saw you take a candy bar. He said, 2 things are going to happen. You're going to get a whipping. And he says, then you're going to go back down to Mr. Allen's. I'm going to drive you down there. You're going to walk in, you're going to apologize, and you're going to pay him for that candy bar. And if you ever steal anything again, that first whipping will just be the first phase of the whipping that you're really going to get. And I've thanked the good Lord so many times for that, because every time I was tempted, the few times I was tempted, let me put it like that, to take something, I remembered my dad's words and I went, no, we're not going down that street. The
Right.
pain far exceeded the pleasure of that Fifth Avenue candy bar. Trust me on that.
And the thing is, it's a natural, unfortunately, it's kind of a natural thing for kids to do.
Mm-hmm.
I remember me and my best friend we were about 6 years old and it was fall and Mom had run down to the store and we went with her and they had big barrels of peanuts, that roasted peanuts you crack open. And I wanted some peanuts so bad. And Mom said no. And Denise and I looked at each other and we started filling our little jacket. Well, we filled that sucker up, both of us, so much that when it was time to go out the door, we were fine because we could kind of hold the bottom with both hands. And Mom said, open the door and get in the back. Kind of looked at each other like that. Went to
You go ahead. Yeah, you go ahead. No, you.
The door, and peanuts started falling out. And oh, Lord. Mama made me pick them all up, marched me and Denise in there. We returned them. We apologized. I got grounded and a big old spanking. And I got grounded for a month. And Denise got in trouble. We couldn't see each other. Because we lived just down the street from each other. Lesson learned. Lesson learned.
Absolutely. And the thing that we're really brought into this earth is to live with our hearts, not our heads, because our heads will get us in trouble. And anybody, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Live and lead with your heart.
Yes, yes. And we had Rennie Gabriel on, and I remember Rennie made a comment about ladies. He said, ladies have that special gut feeling. Mm-hmm. And they follow their gut. And he says, I wish I could do that more often. And I says, I know exactly what you mean. And it is so true, because when you lead with the heart, you leave behind all the physical things, because there's only two emotions that Bill talks about, Bill Heinrich. We're going to talk a little bit about Bill during the hour. And Bill is the author. Let me show you his picture here, if I may, if the camera's picking that up.
Yep, sure is.
Okay. And the 7 Levels of Truth. I don't know if the camera's picking that up because the glossy. Okay. You can find that book on Amazon.
Fabulous book. I have it.
Oh, yes. And obviously, I do too. And Bill gave me a copy of it and autographed it for me. But it's really amazing how Bill talks about there's only 2 basic emotions in life. One is love, and the other one's fear. Mm-hmm. And everything fits underneath one of those categories.
Right.
And we're born into a world of survival. And fear is natural for us. And worry, all those things. That is until we understand what a positive attitude is and how to live by the heart. Donna, you have an amazing story of how you came back. And I'll just give one snippet. Would you believe at one time, not too long ago, Donna could not carry on one sentence. She could not talk, not a complete sentence.
It was very frustrating because obviously I like to talk. Well, I just celebrated on the 27th of this month my 6-year anniversary of having my main brain surgery. So I had 3 brain surgeries in a 14-month period. The first and the third were exploratory, if you will, to see. The first one was to see I had an aneurysm, and it was behind my right eye on my internal carotid artery. And it was, in aneurysm terms, it was a 4x6 and growing. It was huge. And just because of where it was at, if it blew and the ER was across the street, I would not have made it. So I, having celebrated another 6 years of life after having that aneurysm fixed, has really been a huge blessing. And it was amazing because of all the things I learned through that horrific, troubling time, having 3 major surgeries in 14 months. And it did a number. It did a number on my body. It did a number on my brain. I was also working horrendous hours trying to take care of, my children. 3 weeks after main brain surgery, I went back to work. Worked a 40-hour week. We went into peak season, and the following week worked 114 hours. So
wow,
it was, it was a bit of a struggle. So, in honor of it, I don't know if y'all can see this because there's a little bit of a glare, but this is the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. And this is what I call my $1 million cup because of my brain surgery. And I was in ICU for 3 days. But what happened was not just the not speaking, Jim, not being able to speak a full sentence. And that really started coming around hard after the third surgery to see if the aneurysm had done its, when they repaired it, had done its deal and either went away or was shrinking. But the interesting thing in looking back is when bad things happen or things that you don't expect in life, it takes us into a spiral, right? We're not expecting it. And we go into a downward spiral. And now I have an immense sense of humor. So I got through, the first surgery and the second surgery with a lot of humor, but making no mistake, I was scared. I was scared out of my mind. I had to have all my medical stuff in place. My best friend was in charge of, medical power of attorney, complete power of attorney for me in case something happened. And that way I knew that my children would be cared for. But the difficult thing is no matter what we do, Jim, we tend to go inside of ourselves and dwell. And, it was already depressing. I already had been diagnosed with MS when I was getting ready to schedule my first brain surgery. That same day I was going in to schedule the first one, and I was diagnosed with MS. So it was just a continual cycle, if you will. And what happened is I found myself in a really negative space. And, I just wasn't happy. And it was between my second and my third that I realized something was terribly wrong. I was just not in a good space. After my third one, I decided I can do one of two things. I can be bitter or I can get better. And I chose to get better. So I dived in and said, okay, what is going on here? So I read everything I could get my hands on. I did a journal. I pinpointed, and it was one of those heart-to-heart internal talks with yourself. And what I found and what came of that was my coaching business. And I'm not here to promote that. I'm just saying that that's how that came about. But the interesting thing is if you understand the underlying negative things in your life and get rid of them,
Yes.
you will choose to live in that abundance of positivity and high energy every day. Now, and I'm not saying, you're super hyper and you just go. I'm not saying like that, but I'm saying you choose to see the good. And you choose, at this point in my life, I choose to see the good and really tough, hard life lessons.
Exactly. As you're talking, and I love the fact, let me put your website up there again, donnaguinois.com. And I love the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that Donna says, hey, there's got to be somebody else out there somewhere that I can help in their hour of need. Because in her hour of need, the help was, someone to take care of the final steps or things of this nature, but there wasn't any really encouraging help there. And, Donna created the high energy, and she took the email address highenergyrightnow@gmail.com, because if you need some energy in your life, you need it now. Right. You don't need it mañana or next week. You need it now. So just email Donna there, highenergyrightnow@gmail.com, and she'll get that to you. But as you were talking, it reminded me of the story of Milo C. Jones. Milo C. Jones was a farmer. I think he was in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin. That's where his little farm was. And he was like, growing up on a farm, I can understand this.
Right.
A farm life, it's long hours, hard work, and low pay. Okay.
I was going to say farm life is hard life, but it's
Yes.
rewarding.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you how to be tough when the going gets tough, you know?
Yep.
And year after year, I mean, he did the same thing over and over and over. He got up early, he worked late, he worked hard, and he just barely made a living for himself and his family. But that was pretty much it.
Right.
That's all he knew how to do. Nothing wrong with that, but that was his world. Then something happened to Milo. He was stricken with paralysis, and he was in the bed. He could no longer work with his hands. He couldn't move his feet. His family feared the worst. They said, "Oh my goodness, he's been active all this time, an outdoors person, and now he is bedridden."
Right.
You know, and they got worrying about him. And fortunately for Milo, he says, "Okay," I'm paraphrasing this, but he took inventory of himself and he says, "I may be, paralyzed, my body, but my mind is not paralyzed."
Bingo.
And so you may be in a situation where you're physically limited, but your mind is not limited.
Your mind is limitless.
There you go. There you heard it from the lady right straight from the top. And as he laid there in bed, he thought about a lot of different things as anybody, and I'm sure he got depressed. That would be normal. And but he was a man of faith, and he started thinking, being given thanks for all of the things in his life that he had to be thankful for. He was thankful for love. That's something that money cannot buy, nor can a thief steal it from you. And he got to thinking, and he got deep into thought because his entire world was was just around his head. That was it. He had to be fed. He had to be, everything taken care of physically because he was paralyzed.
Right.
And one day he calls his family together and he says, "I no longer can work with my hands and my feet, but I can work with my mind."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "If you'll be my hands and you'll be my feet, what we will do, we will plant every tillable acre we got in corn. Then we will going to buy some little pigs. We will feed the corn to the pigs. We will send them to the slaughterhouse while they're young and tender. We'll have them converted into sausages." And he says, "They will sell like hotcakes." And that's exactly what happened. Here was a man that could no longer physically do anything, but he made himself a multi-millionaire.
Right.
And Donna, do you remember the name of his sausages? I put you on the spot there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Jones's little piggy sausages.
That's it. That's it.
And they were, I remember seeing the commercials on TV when I was a kid, and they appealed to every man, woman, and child because their commercials look so good. The sausages look so delicious. I mean, you'd be
Right.
almost
You're hungry.
Yeah, you'd be sitting there drooling like a hound dog at a picnic, But it goes to show you that just because he was paralyzed from the neck down, I guess, or the chest down, whatever, his mind was not paralyzed. And even though you may be physically healthy and all that, but you may feel like you're physically living in a paralyzed state or a prison, or whatever, but you are a mind with a body, and you were not born to be on this earth to be anybody's slave. You were not born on this earth for anyone to talk down to you, mistreat you, or anything like that. You were born to release the physical things of life and worry that we all experience. And you were born to love yourself first, love others, and then look how you can be a contribution to your fellow man, as we normally phrase it here in the States.
Right.
And that's what he did. He wanted to take care of his family. And he
Well,
also wanted to provide some good, nourishing food for people. And he
right.
did.
Well, what he did that's so beautiful is he took an assessment of where he was at in his life, what
Hmm.
he could and he couldn't do. Then he made controlled attention to what he could do, right? And put the plan in place with the end in mind.
Oh, I like that. Say that again. Preach it again, lady. I want to hear that.
He took inventory of where he was at in his life, took controlled attention at what he could do, what he could control. And he went forth with the end in mind and made a business successful. And his
Mm,
family was well taken care of.
mm. Now, let me ask you a questions out there, ladies and gentlemen. Regardless of your age, regardless of your physical limitations, what can you do?
Right.
What can you do deep down inside in your heart that maybe a dream that you've had? I don't care if you're 55, 65, 85. Look at Colonel Sanders. He wasn't no spring chicken when he started selling his chickens.
He was in his late 50s,
Yeah, I think 60 or something. But anyway, he like I
somewhere in
say,
there.
he was up there.
So were the
By the
McDonald brothers.
yeah, and by the time America knew who Colonel Sanders was, he already had white hair.
Right.
So he was no spring chicken. But that's an old expression there. But think about no matter what it is, there might have been something deep down inside of you that you secretly felt like that was your calling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Today is the day for you to experience that calling, to step out
It is.
and say, I'm not going to worry about what someone says about me. I'm not going to worry about what someone thinks. I'm a mind with a body. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to love others. I'm going to treat people the same way I want to be treated as far as respect and love and that sort of thing. But most importantly, I'm going to look for ways to contribute to fulfill the reason why I was created and born on planet Earth. And I'll tell you an interesting question I've asked people from time to time. Why was I born, in the date, the month, day, and year that I was? Why not 100 years before or 200 years before that?
Right.
And of course, there's some people out there in a joking kind of a way. Why was I born into that family? I remember one time we went on a tour. I got to tell a little story here out of school. We went to the Biltmore House in Asheville, North Carolina on a tour. And the tour guide was kind of like, he was about as dry as bones. Yeah, this is nobody's allowed in that room there, but you can notice all the blah, blah, blah. He was monotone and just super boring. And the whole group was like that. And I'm getting bored because I've got a warped sense of humor. And when we saw this one room, it was roped off, and he's going through his usual boring stuff. Oh, that they brought that from England, and that came from Germany, and blah 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 blah. And I said, "Wow." And everybody kind of looked at me. I said, "Well, I tell you what, I was born in the wrong family," and nobody laughed. Nobody laughed. I'm going like, "What's wrong with these people?"
Well, what you said is so beautiful, Jim, because we have a definition of purpose.
Yes, ma'am.
Each and every one of us have a definition of purpose. But if you are not living positive in a negative world, it's going to be hard to accomplish that because the
Yes.
negativity is going to come to the forefront and rob you of it, which robs you of your creative thinking, right? It can rob you of everything. Your reasoning, right? And you can reason yourself if you're in a negative state. You can reason yourself right out of not doing what you in your gut know you're supposed to be doing.
Oh, yeah. You take like procrastination. That's a good way of explaining that. You can justify why you shouldn't do something today. Well, tomorrow will be a better day to do that. I don't feel like doing it today. I mean, I got this to
Right?
do and I got that to do. And it becomes a bad habit.
Mm-hmm.
but all habits can be broken if your will is strong enough,
Right.
if you have the desire to change. Because desire is the starting point of all achievement.
Right.
And you got to have a desire to change your life, not one of these days. You got to have a definite purpose. Like with Milo C. Jones, he said, we're going to plant every tillable acre in corn. We're going to
Right.
raise the corn. Then we're going to buy some little piggies. We're going to feed the little piggies that corn. They're going to get fat and be just tender. Then we're going to send them to the processing plant. And we're going to have them packaged in little sausage. And he giggled when he said, they'll sell like hotcakes. And did they ever? My
Right.
goodness. But see, there was definite, he didn't say one of these days. If we plant some corn and one of the, and then we get a few pigs, he wasn't vague like it. He was very focused. He had a definite purpose. It's kind of like, when you're, let's just say if this is a good analogy, but, some people don't care for guns, but if you're going to practice, shooting a target,
Right.
You line up your front sight and your back sight and all that, or rear sight, but your focal point is what? The end result, the bullseye, the target. Right. And that's what you do in life. I love what Don McGrath says. He says, start with the end result in mind. He always has the rear end of a big elephant showing there. And he says, you got to start with the end result in mind and then work your way back to where you are. Then you can plan your steps on how to get there. And that's so important. And we talk, I mentioned Bill Heinrich's book, The 7 Levels of Truth. I'm going to show it again for Mr. Bill. You can get it on Amazon. That's a picture of Mr. Bill. That is a true picture of his true personality.
It really is. Bill is a sweet, sweet man. And boy, does he know his stuff.
Yes. And it took him 25 years to write that book, 25 years in the making, he might say. And at one time in life, Bill was very lost in his life. Mm-hmm. He walked away from his life, walked away from everything. He had the smarts and the wisdom and the desire to give up drinking. But he went on a journey to find himself.
Right.
And then all of his things that he had read and learned and the things he attended, he decided, hey, I got to tell you this. We had him on the radio show as a guest. And I asked him, I says, Bill, what do you want to talk about? He says, well, my life is messed up and so is yours. I said, Bill, we're trying to have a positive, program here. It's called Your Future Is Now on the radio, But he really shared with people how we've all got troubles. We've all got pressures. And the main thing in life, if you're riding the roller coaster of life with the emotions and all that, just reach over and pull that brake back and say, that's it. I'm getting off.
If you don't, it will ride you the rest of your life. And you won't get out of life what you want, what you desire, because you are living in that negative area of energy.
Absolutely, because it'll rob you of everything that you value as far as precious. It'll rob you of your life. It'll rob you of your health. Yes, relationships. Sure, absolutely. And most importantly, you won't like yourself on the inside.
Yep.
That's the biggie. That's why loving yourself first is the first step towards success. Has nothing to do with money.
Nope, not a thing.
Mm-mm. Now, with that kind of an attitude, you're going to attract money, yes. But people who start out in life and their goal in life is to acquire riches, money only, they'll never have their cup filled, nor will they ever quench their thirst for money.
Right, because that's the only desire they have.
That's their God.
Right.
That's their God.
Deity. That's their deity.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you right now, if that is your deity, you are bankrupt on the inside. I don't care if you got $1 billion in the bank. Mm-hmm. You are just poor as poor can be. Because on the inside, you're worthless.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a horrible feeling for someone to feel.
It really is.
Yeah. And
And,
Donna,
I've known a few people like that.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've told the story before here on the TV show. I knew one individual that their possessions were everything to them. That was their deity.
Mm-hmm.
And this one individual that was a relative of him, he couldn't stand. He didn't even want him to reach over and touch anything that he owned. And after
Wow.
he died, that relative wound up with most of them. I mean, you think about that, it's kind of funny in a way, but it's so pitifully sad that that person wasted their entire life worshiping things. Because if you love money and you love things, the material things of this life, you're not only bankrupt,
Right.
you're a miserable person.
You're emotionally and spiritually, and it comes into the physical
Mhm.
bankrupt because you have no self-worth of compassion and human love and nurturing, and you don't have
Oh,
it
yeah.
certainly within you, so you can't help and give it to anybody else.
That's right. You're totally out of balance with the universe.
Right.
And you're part of this universe. Everything is a vibration. And that took me a long time to get my head, and I'm still hadn't got it all of it, my head wrapped around it.
Well,
But
even more than the vibration, Jim, is there is a direct synapsis of the energy from us all to everything.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
So, it's just like I have lots of animals. I'm an animal lover. I've got a giant dog. I've got four kittens, half grown, and I'm seldom upset. But if I drop
Mhm.
something, say, and I was like, oh, dadgummit, I dropped that. Boy, you should see the kittens or the dog. They all look at me like, ooh, because
Mhm.
that energy, they're feeling
Yeah.
it, they're hearing it
Mhm.
in my voice.
Oh yeah. I with one of my dogs, he was a Australian cattle dog, aka Blue Heeler, and he was my shadow for 10 years. And when I lost him, it was like losing a kid. It just tore me apart. But my point being is that I used to, just tease him a little bit. I'd walk in a room, look like I was mad, just walk in. And he would look at me and kind of like, okay, what's going on now? What's wrong with you? You left here this morning, everything was hunky dory. You walk back in, and okay, he's trying to read my body language and he's not
Right.
liking what I'm seeing. And because it's so true, if you smile at someone and say good morning or say hello, they will smile back.
Right.
And that energy just vibrates. It really does. And it really, I can't explain it, to be honest with you, but I understand it. It just keeps going and going and going and going. After all, what's to stop it? I don't see no walls up there in the sky anywhere.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's just like an animal. Like I know my dog does this with me, and these kittens are too young yet, but my other cats would. If I was sad or down, my dog will come up and do the big paw on me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, mom, love you. I'm here for
Mm-hmm.
you. And my cats in the past would come up and meow in my face and curl up my lap or give me kisses because they knew something was wrong. Mom was feeling a little down. Something wasn't going right. So,
Yeah.
but we give off that energy, whether we realize it or not. We give off that energy when we go out. So if
Yes.
we're down, if we're sad, if we're angry, that energy follows us. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why, and I raised my children this way. We do not know what somebody else in life is going through. So you can never be wrong by being kind.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Always be kind, because that person behind the register, uh, person that cut in front of you in traffic, whatever, you don't know what emergency they have. You don't know what's going on in their life. So give themselves grace, give them
Mm-hmm.
grace, And when you
Yeah.
give a person that grace, the most beautiful part about it is you give yourself grace.
Oh yeah. It dominoes. What you give is what's going to come back to you. And
Yep,
you can write your own prescription for that one. And
absolutely.
it's really amazing because I love the thing that you said there about it gives you grace. And like when someone I've seen of two or three of these road rage YouTube videos, and I look at the individual who is supposed to be the victim. A lot of
Right,
times because they don't give someone a break. Like if someone is merging in on them and they're
right,
trying to cut between them and they'll want to speed up and all that and make them hit the brake. Why?
right.
Why? That's your ego. Give
Hmm.
the person a break. And I've had people cut me off and stuff like that. And I've made mistakes driving too. I
Sure.
may be preoccupied on something, have something in my mind that's preoccupying my mind, not paying attention the way I should. And I just I feel bad. And one guy I held up my hand like that, and I pointed to myself as I'm sorry.
Right.
And the guy just, it's okay. And I appreciate that. But with all this road rage and people just itching to just vomit ugliness on society, meanness, that's going to come back to them. Because
Right.
it's kind of like a farmer. What you reap is what you're going to sow.
Right.
That this is not complicated. And I've taken up most of the time talking. Donna, I know you wanted to talk about a great individual who
I
handled his tragedy excellently. Go ahead, please.
I do. So I would like to talk about Superman,
Mm.
Christopher Reeves. So, I in 1998 he came out with a book called Still Me. And if you need a really good book to read and really get into understanding where he was at, he is very brutally honest in it. He does not hold back, but how he came through the tragedy of his paralysis and what he did. So this happened in March 20, May 27th, 1995. His horse, Buck, stopped dead on a jump. Now, he was quite the horseman, and he was a very well-known rider in the jumping events. So he was going up and right at the gate, if you will. I'm not sure what they call them, but they look like high hurdles to me. His horse his horse just stopped, and he was 42 years old. So he went right over the barrier and landed on his head, and he was instantly paralyzed from the neck down.
Mhm.
Now, had he landed on his head a centimeter to the left, he would have been dead instantly. Had he landed a centimeter more to the right, he would have gotten up with probably nothing more than a concussion.
Mm.
But that's not what fate had in plan for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he talks about in this book, one of the things that had me absolutely hysterical. Now, he went to Juilliard, and Robin Williams went to Juilliard, and they actually met there and they roomed there, and they were best friends. And I was many, many years ago very honored to be able to go see Robin Williams live. And so I can attest that the man is genius, as we all know, right? Well, he walked in, Christopher Reeves is on his stomach, and he's kind of strapped into the bed, right? And he walks in or he's laying there and he hears somebody walk in with a very thick Russian accent telling him he's Dr. Whoever and that he is a proctologist. And he goes on and on and on. And he's like, what are you talking about? This was right after he was paralyzed. And Christopher Reeve went off on him and was just madder than a wet hen. And then finally, Robin Williams bent his head down underneath the bed and went, hi, buddy. And he started laughing. So he went through ordeals, but what was so beautiful was he was paralyzed from obviously the neck down. In 1999, he created the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and it is a nonprofit organization which has raised more than $130 million for research and treatments for spinal cord injuries.
Wow.
He raised public awareness. He lobbied Congress from his wheelchair. He went on tour around the world in his wheelchair to talk to scientists, public reps, entrepreneurs, philanthropists. He died 10 years later, and on October 2004. And his two oldest children took over running the organization after his wife, Dana, died in 2006. But the beautiful thing is he never lost his sense of humor. He never lost his sense of humor. I believe it was in 1996, and I could be wrong. He was a special honorary on the live awards for all the screen actors, right? For the Grammys. And the only way Christopher Reeve could move his wheelchair was by blowing into it. Now, in the end, he did have a little bit of movement in one finger, and he had some sensation in his legs. But, his humor was amazing. And he said, "It's so good to see you all here today." He said, I left LA in September, and I finally arrived this morning. So, humor is so important in what we do. But the beautiful thing is this man had the world by the tail and had a tragedy of untold proportions, going from this healthy, strapping man to being in a wheelchair and having complications that comes with that kind of paralysis. I mean, at one time, his own mother said, take him off the life support.
Wow. Because
there was absolutely no hope for him. And Dana never left his side. She never
That's
left
right.
his side. And, that's what a good spouse, a loving spouse does. You are in it through thick and thin, and nothing will part that. And
that's right.
I love the fact that they took a tragedy and went on to say, this is enough. We need to bring awareness. He had the means by his career choice to help with his medical bills, to help get some things, that he needed, a certain kind of wheelchair that most people like you and I do not have access to that kind of money.
That's right.
And this foundation has gone on to help millions of people. And he had perseverance, and he had enthusiasm and controlled attention, and he had teamwork, and he learned from the defeat of being in a wheelchair, but he also learned, and that was, that's one of the biggest blessings we can have in life, Jim, is when we learn from that defeat, we learn how not to be defeated.
Yes. And just like Milo C. Jones, he might have been paralyzed, but he still had his mind.
That's
right.
And
he was able to, look how he was able to contribute back and give hope to others, because he, just like Donna there in her email and her website there, what she went through, she's able to give back and help others. And that's what we're all called to do in life, to give back and help others. And think about how you feel when you help someone.
Right.
And, to know that they really appreciated your help in their hour of need. Oh, my goodness.
We don't get anywhere without help, Jim.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, me doing this TV,
Right. We're not made to be individuals without anybody in our life. That's just
Yeah.
not in our DNA.
Yeah, we're social creatures. And when you said we don't get ahead by ourselves, it reminded me about me and this TV show. If it wasn't you here to keep me straight, I'd probably get in trouble. But we have a lot of fun. And we're most importantly, what makes this show so much fun for Donna and I to do is because we tell people we provide infotainment. We don't have sales pitches on here. We turn down people that want to come on and let me tell you about me. I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm this and this, blah, blah, blah. And I got this book. Like when I recommend Bill Heinrich's book, I recommend it on the merit of what it stands for. You can find it on Amazon because I know this book here can help you in your hour of need. It helped me.
And I second that.
Yes, yes, yes. So it's not about the money. It's about the value to you. And the same is true. This is the Bill and Don. They're offering the 6minutewebinar.com free trial. You can test drive it for yourself. And I talk to people, about marketing and things of this nature. And really, the biggest problem with marketing is that they don't know how to share their brand, their product, their program, whatever they may offer. They don't know how to present it in a way. The 6-minute webinar will give you that clarity.
It will.
Yeah, it truly will. We all use it.
Yeah,
Donna, you're going to be speaking on a live TV show over in Pakistan, Bangladesh, I think it is, isn't it?
Bangladesh, yes.
Yeah. And I imagine you're going to practice up a little bit on your 6-minute webinar to craft your present. Oh, yeah. Hey. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing when I'm on that show too. And I'm looking forward to it because it's a wonderful opportunity to give. And she wants me to share about how to be a public speaker. And I'm going to address the big thing that scares them to death about public speaking.
Right.
And that's glossophobia. I had a bad case of that growing up. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. Mm-hmm. I experienced that in my 3rd grade with 2 oral book reports, which was torture for me. And that scarred me for many decades.
Right.
I avoided public speaking. 25, 30 years ago, let me say 30 years ago would be more accurate. If someone told me, one of these days you have a radio show with over 6 million downloads on your podcast. Of course, I wouldn't know what that was, 6 podcasts 30 years ago. But a live TV show, I would go like, are you nuts?
Right.
Did you fall and hit your head? Are you okay? Are you in there? Look them in the eye and say, are you in there? The lights are on, but are you home?
Right.
But to go from the intimidated person I was to where I am today, it took courage.
It did.
And if you want to change your life and you're enslaved in a very uncomfortable situation, or you feel like you're lost, or whatever it might be, let it go. Let it go, because this is where you are right now. And this is one of the things that Bill talks about. He says, you're in the perfect place for you right now. And some of you out there might say, are you kidding me? Are you serious, Jim? I'm in the perfect place for me right now. Yes, you are. Because that's your life, that's your experience, but that's not where you're going to wind up.
Right.
And that experience is going to teach you how to build the stepping stones down your pathway of life. So treasure everything, good and bad, because it's going to help you so much as you walk down the pathway of life.
It will, and it will help. One of the things I found when I've helped my clients is it helps their children, Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Because we are creatures of habit, and we learn by, what's handed down to us. Mm-hmm. And so if we change the things that we don't like in us early on, then guess what? That, whatever it is that you're carrying with you, you don't want your children to have it. You change it now, they're going to see that change, And that will be what they carry with them.
Yes, yes,
It
yes.
breaks the cycle.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I mean, it's kind of like old Hank Williams Jr. singing about his song about his life, and it's a family tradition.
Right?
Well, it's because, that's the life you chose.
Right.
And, we find ways of justifying, and I'm not picking on Hank Williams Jr., don't get me wrong. I love his singing, and I really enjoyed Monday Night Football. All my rowdy friends are
Right.
coming. That was good. That was good.
But the point is, whatever you're doing, it's a choice. So
Yes,
if
it
you're
is.
choosing to be positive, that is a choice. And if
Yeah.
you're choosing to stay in the muck and the negative, that's a choice.
Yeah.
And that, and if you're stuck, I'm just going to put this out there. Give me an email, send me a note on my email, and I will give you a half an hour of my undivided attention, free of charge, to help you.
Will you give me a half an hour too?
Yeah, you might need a little more, Jim.
I knew that was coming. I don't even know why I brought that up, but every now I'm a guy, we goof up things, That's that 50-50-90 rule for guys. You ladies know that, but now if you've watched the
Right.
program, and the 50-50-90 rule for you new viewers out there, you ladies, is that if a guy has a 50-50 shot of doing something right the first time, if he doesn't listen to the wise advice of his spouse or his girlfriend or the lady in his life, mother, whoever, yeah, there is a 90% chance he's going to goof it up right out of the gate. What can I say, guys? I can hear one of my buddies out there. Yeah, Jim, I know what you're talking about there, but
Right.
let's don't spread that out too much, okay?
Right.
It's true. And that's one of the things about in your life when you heal, is when you're honest with yourself.
Mhm.
Because you can fool anybody in the world, but you can't fool yourself.
Yeah. Yep. You've got to start with you.
That's right.
And when you do, things are better.
Mhm.
Things are better. You have to learn what your balance is.
Mm-hmm. What you're calling in life, and when you're following your heart, and the reason why you were put here on planet Earth, it's your responsibility to find that reason, find that calling. It'll come to you. Just like Milo C. Jones, paralyzed,
Right.
but his mind was not, and he was looking for a way to contribute back. And in the process, he went from a poor farmer who worked hard day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, to enjoying success by providing good, nourishing food for others. And he was rewarded, became I definitely a millionaire. I might have probably been a multi-millionaire. I don't know, because I know we contributed to the Jones family growing up, because we saw a lot of Jones's little piggy sausage, because it was good stuff. Good stuff.
But giving back in learning through your tragedy, it can be done in the smallest ways. It doesn't have to be on a big grand scale. It can be just it could be the neighbor who doesn't have a spouse anymore, and just dropping off some flowers, or having them over for cake and coffee, or just a number of things. It can just be small, simple things.
Yeah, it's kind of like a neighbor I had one time. He was home recuperating from surgery. And so I was going to go downtown. I thought, I'll just go over and see him. And I went over and saw him. I said, hey, I'm going downtown. You need anything? He says, well, yeah. He said, I'd like to have, and give me a couple things. And I said, okay, I'll get them for you. He said, well, let me get up and get my wallet. I said, I didn't ask if you had money. I just asked if you wanted something.
Right.
Because that was my gift to him. And he would do the same for me. Look at the time, Donna. Where's it gone to?
It's gone in about 2 seconds, I swear.
Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure and share our shows with others, because you can catch all of our shows that's been downloaded from the the TV station here at E360 TV, to our YouTube channel, Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show on YouTube. And you can download it, you can listen to it, you can share it with others. Most importantly, thank you so much for tuning in. And Donna and I, we sincerely hope that we've said something to encourage you to change your life. Love yourself first, then you can love others. And as Donna always likes to say, on your birthday, all birthday cakes and all special desserts are what, Donna?
Fat free.
Yeah, they're health food. She
Yeah.
voted on it, and she was unanimous in that
I
vote.
was. They're fat free and they're health food.
Yeah. Well, they make you young and good looking. Well, they're not miracle food. I'm living proof of that. We'll see you tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back. Same time, same station. We'll see you. Have a good evening. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. Appreciate you joining in.
Bye, folks.